Hello, algebra class. All right, let's get started. I'm going to walk through the Chapter 2 extra credit, and I will be asking you additional questions as we go. So please have out your extra credit, maybe even a blank extra credit. Also have a blank piece of paper, pencil, calculator, and be in a position of learning, shall we say. Not lounging on your bed or the couch, but sitting at the table ready to go, do some studying, okay? All right, so I'm going to walk through these, but like I said, on certain ones, I'm going to throw out different scenarios and have you try them, have you pause the video and give them a shot, okay? All righty, which color shall I use? All right, so we're going to start right away up here. Any equation, you want to be able to see the balance of both sides. It's x minus 18, so we do the inverse, which would be to add 18 to both sides. These cancel and give you 0. You're left with the variable on the left side, and 10 plus 18 is indeed 28. So we're starting off pretty easy and strong. Draw your line. Now we're adding, so we're going to do the opposite. We're going to subtract, the inverse. Remember, we locate the variable. So it's a equals 29 minus 5 is 24. Remember, little side note here, when you are subtracting, let's say you have 9 minus 5.5. Remember, put the 0, borrow. 10 minus 5 is 5, and 3. So you don't need to be grabbing calculators for these simple things, okay? You can use them for the test, but I'm going to challenge you not to grab them. I actually will tell you which ones you should be using them on and which ones you shouldn't, so you kind of know where you're falling in this. All right, the next one. Write an equation. So whenever I see a verb, I underline it. Write an equation to represent the relationship. A number decreased by 12 is equal to 9. Then solve the equation. Okay, so I have two things to do here. Write an equation. All right, a number, x, decreased by 12 is equal to 9. So there's one point, and then we want to solve it. Draw the line, do the inverse. And there's your two things. You answered both questions in there. All right, let's look down further here. So now we get into this type of solving, where you draw your line. Of course, you locate your variable. And then you have to look at the operation between it. So whereas up here, we had subtraction, so the inverse was adding. Here we had adding, so the inverse was subtracting. Now we have multiplication. So the inverse is division. So 6 times m is what's happening here. So we're going to divide both sides by 6. Because 6 over 6 is 1. So I'm left with m equals 54 divided by 6, 9. Now my question is, and I want you to pause the video and do this real quickly, what would this be? Okay, so when I give you an extra problem, you should pause the video and then start it back up when you're done with it. So again, draw the line. It's not plus or minus here. This is still a multiplication problem. So we still have to divide, but this time instead of dividing by a 6, we're going to divide by a negative 6. So my answer will be just slightly different on that one. Okay, next one. Half t equals negative 8. Okay, so I draw my line, locate my variable, and I notice that again it is multiplied, but it gets kind of ugly when we have fractions divided by fractions. So I've taught you that the same thing as dividing by half is multiplying by the reciprocal. Okay, so the reciprocal of 1/2 then is, of course, 2 over 1. And we want to do that on both sides. We're multiplying by that. And the reason is because these cancel, and you're left with 1t. -8 times 2, -16, because there's a 1 in the bottom here. So, I want you to try this one, and then stop the video and do it. Okay, so I'm going to draw the line, locate the variable, and I say, okay, it's a -1/2. So now this goes together. I need to multiply by the reciprocal of -1/2. It's -2 over 1. I can't forget the negative. And I go over here and it's -2 over 1. Again, that's still over 1. So now this crosses off the same, but now we got negative times negative, which is a positive, which is what we wanted. You don't want to end up with a negative in front of this. -8 times -2 is 16. Okay, so just watch your signs there. All right, write an equation and then solve. So again, a two-parter. The product. Product means multiplication. The product of 7 and a. 7a, that's how we write product. We don't usually put the multiplication in there when it's a variable. Is equal 28. Now I'm going to solve. It's multiplication, so I'm going to do division. And there is the second part of my answer. All right, we're moving. Let's do it. Go pop up here. Big thing to remember here is this. Probably already know what I'm writing. Distributive. Got to remember to do distributive property. So draw your line. And we want to look on the left here. It's like we got these parentheses. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so I got to multiply the 4 by both terms in there. If there were 3 terms in there, I'd multiply it by 3 things. So 4 times z is 4z. 4 times -1, 4, or minus 4, plus 1 equals 21. Now when we look over here, we can combine like terms. So remember, when it's on the same side of the line, we can combine any like terms here. So the 4z can't be combined, but -4 plus 1 is -3. Okay, and now we have 2 steps. So remember, it's opposite of PEMDAS. So we're going to actually work backwards on PEMDAS, and we're going to do this part first. So it's subtracting 3, so we're going to add 3. Now it's multiplied by 4, so I'm going to divide by 4. Okay, what happens if I do this? So do I add the 1 and the 4? No. Try it. All right. Hopefully you're stopping it and trying these. Here's the deal. This is the exact same problem. Okay, I just put the 21 on this side and I put the 1 out front. You do not add those first. You always have to distribute multiplication. So it's still going to be the same thing. 1 plus 4z minus 4. Then we can still combine 1 and -4. Can add 3. Divide by 4. And we do get the same answer indeed. Okay, so be careful if it's listed this way. People always want to add those. So you don't. You got to do the parentheses part first. 4 times this. You do your multiplication first before you do addition. All right. Next one. Draw your line. Locate your variable. All right, we again work backwards on PEMDA, so I want to add 12. And then it's like there's a 1 here. So it's kind of like we have a fraction. It's not like it is, there is a 1 there. But we have a fraction again. So we can multiply by the reciprocal of 1 over 10, which is 10 over 1. This again is over 1. So the 10's cancel, I'm left with D. 10 times 13 is 130 over 1. Okay, so I want you to try this. Okay, write that down. Pause the video and do it. Okay, so you should have an answer. See if you're right. So we're going to add 12. Uh-oh, things look like they're going to get dicey here, doesn't it? No need to panic. 12 plus a fifth is 12 and 1/5, correct? And I got a mixed and I got a regular fraction there. So I need to get this to improper. 5 times 12 is 60 plus 1 is 61 over 5. And the reason I did that is because just like over here, I multiplied by the reciprocal 10 over 1. I want to do the same thing here. So 3 over 10 times 10 over 3. These will cancel, and I'll be left with D, which is exactly what I want. And now let me see if anything cancels here. We got a 1 and a 2. So I get 122 over 3, which is what? What is 122 over 3? 40 2/3. So you could have left it like improper too. It's fine. Okay? All right, the detailing one. So try to recognize that we got 2 different companies. We got this guy, and then we have this one. Okay, and in between those, they're saying how long is a job that costs the same no matter which company. So we're trying to see when are those 2 companies equal. Okay, so the blue side, let's do that. Well, actually, we can do the pink one first. A car detailing company charges 30 plus 18 per hour. So the part of that that changes is the 18, depending on how many hours. So we have 30 plus 18 hours, or whatever variable you want to use. And then the other company charges 25, and then the part that changes there is the 20 per hour, depending on how many hours, plus 20 per hour. So once you can get that set up, it's just a solving problem. So it's 2 variables. We got 1 on each side. So you can move either one. There's nothing to combine on either side, so there's nothing to simplify. I have to just start moving stuff. And it always works out a little bit nicer if you move the smaller one, so you don't work with negatives, but you certainly can do either way. Those are gone. I'm left with 30 over here equals 25 plus 20x minus 18x is 2x. I'm going to subtract 25. And I'm going to get 2x equals 5. Divide by 2. And x is 2.5 hours. So I think the key there is to make sure you kind of separate the two, figure out what they're trying to have be the same, and then figure out which part is it that's changing. It's the one that's per hour because it depends on how many hours. All right, next. When we look at boring black, yuck. Okay, so we have, again, a variable and a number, variable and a number. There's nothing on either side that you can simplify. So we're just going to start moving the variable first and the smallest one. So we're going to move the 8a. Goes together. You don't split those yet. So I have 12a minus 8a is 4a. Then I got to get the numbers together. Excuse me. And lastly, I do the inverse here. So you definitely need to know how to do those where there's, double on each side. We'll step it up a little blue. All right. So now, again, this is one of the similar ones to above where I said you cannot do anything. It's just like this one's actually up here. You got to do the distributing first. So this is another distributive problem. So we do 3x plus 3 times 1 is 3. Then you still have the minus 1. Combine like terms before we start moving stuff. 3 minus 1 is 2. Oh, whoa, hold the phone here. They're the same. But let's say you didn't notice that yet. So now you're going to subtract the x's. Whoa, they're the same. But let's say you didn't notice that yet. Whoa, they're the same. Okay, so you figured it out either here, here, or here, depending on how observant you are. You've noticed the left and the right side are the same. That is true whether you're looking up here, here, or here. They're all true statements. The left is the same as the right. That's a true statement. So the answer is all real numbers. So if you get to this, that's great, but you still got to seal the deal and solve it and tell me what's the answer. The answer is not 0. The answer is everything, all real numbers. Now the way you would get no solution would be is if you got something like 0 equals 1. Okay, so it's not true. Not true. 0 is not equal to 1, is it? Last I checked. So there you go. Now, we're going to go down here. We're going to solve. You want to look what you're solving for. In this case, we're solving for m. So that's a little simpler than the one we did in class in Jeopardy. We want to get the v gone, right? We want the m alone. So since we're dividing by v, we're going to do the opposite, which is multiplying by v. So my v's will be gone, and I'm left with m equals v times d. And that's it. So I want you to do the same exact thing. So stop the video, except I want you to solve. Let's see, which one didn't we do? Solve for v. All right, you should have stopped the video and you're done. Solving for v is, here's v. That's that tricky one where it's in the bottom, right? And it's frustrating, and you guys get frustrated, but I showed you a shortcut. So if you make that into a proportion, we talked about how the things that are opposite each other in the diagonal can be flipped. So I could flip the m and the 1, although I don't really care. That's not going to help me. I want the v gone and upstairs. I don't want the v in the bottom. So I can actually flip these two. So I can get v over 1 equals m over d. Did I finish it? I did, because v over 1 is v. There's your answer. Now you can actually do it by solving, and I will show you that. But I always like to show that little shortcut because if you truly understand what's happening, it's kind of nice. So let's say you have just this, and we want to get it. First you would multiply both sides by v so that you can get this out of the bottom. Then, again, we're trying to solve for v, so I want the v alone, so I got to get rid of the d now. v equals m over d. So you get the right answer both ways, so you can pick which one you like to use. All right, onward we go, page 2. Feel free to replay any of the parts that are difficult for you. All right, so we have, zone that in a little bit. Let's see, which color? Oh, there, purple. Purple, solve for y. Draw your line, locate your variable. Okay, so you want to get rid of the opposite of PEMDAS, remember. So we're going to do the add subtract part first. So we're going to, this is being added. It's an x being added to this term, so I'm going to subtract. So I have 6y equals 12 minus x. Now, I see that it's 6 times y, so I do the opposite, the inverse, and we're done. There's several different options. You could put the 6 with each and do 2 minus 1/6 x. If you put the 6 separately with each, that would be fine. Yeah, whoa, holy cow, my camera tipped over. Okay, let's look at the next one. The train travels 120 miles in 1 hour. What's its speed in miles per minute? Okay, so I'm noticing we're going from miles to miles, so that's not changing. But then they're going from hours to minutes. So let's get this first part here into a fraction. It's 120 miles in 1 hour. 120 miles, 1 hour. We need miles per minute. Okay, so I need to multiply it by a conversion, and I need the conversion to be minutes to hours, hours to minutes. So you know that there are 60 minutes equal 1 hour. Now I can write that as either 60 minutes over 1 hour or 1 hour over 60 minutes. They both are equal to 1. So I'm going to look over here and say, okay, I got to have my hours cross off. So I need the hours on the top here. So I'm going to pick this one. So 1 hour over 60 minutes. Fantastic. My hours cancel. And I'm left with 120 miles per 60 minutes. And we know that 120 over 60, could have reduced it there as well, is 2. So 2 miles per minute. Or you can write it as a fraction. That's fine like that too. All right. Absolute values. When you see absolute values, which are the goalposts, you know there are 2 answers majority of the time, unless there's a 0, unless it's equal to 0. Okay, so you always, when you use absolute value, there's nothing around it on the same side. It's all set to break down. X is equal to 13 and x is equal to negative 13. That's straightforward. There's no solving to do for that one. Right? Because if you put 13 in here, absolute value 13, yep. If you put a negative 13 here, absolute value of negative 13, yep, it makes it positive. So now we drop down to the next type of problem, which is something inside of it. But there's still nothing on the outside, so I can immediately break it right down. So I have x minus 5 equals positive 15. And x minus 5 equals negative 15. It's this part that switches. One's positive, one's negative. Now I solve both of them, and I'll have my answers. So draw the line. Got one of them, it's 20. Draw the line. And there's the other. That bothers me. Why did I box one and circle one? That is not pleasing to the eyeballs. All right, here we go. Now, I'm going to give you another one. I want you to stop and to solve this one and then stop the camera and solve this one. Or stop the video. Okay, so it's absolute value of x minus 5 plus 3 equals 15. So stop it and solve it. Okay, Merry Christmas. We're going to do green and red. You do not have the absolute value alone on this side. We got this plus 3 in here now. That has to go first before you can break it down like you did here. So we're going to subtract 3. Now we're ready to break it. Okay, if you break it down up here, it's not going to work. X minus 5 equals positive 12. X minus 5 equals negative 12. Notice I didn't change anything on the inside. That's the same in both. It's only the number over here that gets shifted. Add 5, add 5. X is 17. Add 5, add 5. X is negative 7. All right. Oh, proportion. So this is the easiest proportion you have. There's no adding or subtracting in here. So it's literally cross multiply and divide. But so it's 10 times 1 divided by 2, which is 5. We can pretty much do that in our head. But what you're really doing is you're doing 2s equals 10 divided by 2. Oh, I'm so sad this pen is out. It's just, these are the best. Look at these. I love these. They're not erasable. Oh, look at all that ink. It should be working. Okay. But I'm going to give you one that's more difficult. How about this one? X plus 2 over 10 equals negative 3 over 2. Pause it, solve it, and when you're done, come back. All right. So it is a proportion again. One fraction equals another fraction. Even though there's adding and subtracting, it's still 1 and 1. So I can cross multiply. But when you do this, you are remembering that these are in parentheses. So we are again using distributive. So the 2 gets multiplied by both things in the parentheses. So 2x plus 4 equals the other diagonal. 10 times a negative 3 is a negative 30. And now we solve. Draw the line. See, here's my variable, so I got to get rid of the 4. Divide by 2. And you should have gotten negative 17. Who got that? Daniel? Daniel H? Daniel D? Tia? Gianna? Lily? Angela? Jordan? Stephen? Did you all get that right? All right. Onward. We are going on to ratios. Remember ratios, it's just a fraction. And you're looking for the word to. To signals things for you. The ratio of a sale of a textbook to the original price. 1 to 3. So you can write that as a fraction. 1 to 3. Sale to original. Sale, original. The original price is 81. So I'm going to make a proportion. The original is 81. What's the sale? I don't know. Got to solve it. Cross multiply and divide. 3x equals 81. And the answer is $27. So number 19, a rectangle has a length of 5 centimeters and a width of 4. Every dimension is ding, 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 tripled to form a similar rectangle. What's the ratio of perimeters? So remember, they give you the lengths, but they're not necessarily even needed because they want you to find the ratio. Every dimension is tripled. So that's actually your ratio, 1 to 3. If you have one, you multiply it by 3 to get the other. That's how they do it. Now, to ask you here for the ratio of the perimeters, it's going to be the same. This is also a length. Perimeter is a length. These are lengths. So it's 1 to 3. If I had said, what is the area? That is 1 over 9. And if I had said, what is the volume? Not the volume, the ratio. Let's be clear. I'm not actually telling you what they are. We're talking about the ratios. 1 to 3 and 3 to 3. So there's volume, area, and then the original was the length. They're all just ratios. None of them represent the actual area in that, or the volume or the length. All right, shadows one of my favorites. Getting a shadow here, see that? Okay. Ha! That's funny, getting a shadow on my shadows problem. Okay, so Shayla is 5 feet tall and casts a shadow 2 feet long. So here she is, 5 feet, shadow, 2 feet. Same time, a nearby lamppost is cast a shadow. I had to look. It didn't tell me how tall the lamppost was. Cast a shadow of 8 feet. Right, salt. Again, 2 directives there. So the proportion would be 5. Oh wait, what's it asking you? Height of the lamppost, x. 5 over x equals, now if I put the 5 on the top, I got to put the 2 on the top, over 8. Or you could have done 5 over 2 equals x over 8. Or you could have flipped these and flipped these. Both would work. Cross multiply, divide. 40 equals 2x. 20 what? Feet. Okay. I'll find the value in the diagram here. So you want to the key here is just making sure you're lining up the proper sides. So we got the big one and the small one. So when you're setting up a proportion and you're putting like the big on the top, let's say, then put the smaller one on the bottom. So what are we trying to find? X. Let's get that in there right away. X is on the bigger one. And what's corresponding to X? I don't know. DF, I gotta look. DF is the same as AC. 6. You can kind of tell that one by looking at it, but sometimes they're turned around and you can't really see it. So you got to be able to look up here and figure it out. And now we got to pick another one because we need one more set. So 4 is the bigger one. And now what's corresponding to DE? DE is the same as AB. AB is 2. Okay, you could have used 10 over 5 and you'd get the same answer. 24 equals 2x. X equals 12. All right. 6 is 10% of what number? Wow. I'm having a little technical difficulties here. Jeez. Okay. Take English, put it to math. 6 is equals 10%. Write it as a decimal. Of multiply what number? X. So I really have, you don't usually put the multiply, that's the problem you have. So we're solving for the X. And that is 60. I want you to do this one. 12 is 3% of what number? Stop the video, do it. All right, 12 is 3%. Remember, it's the single digits, so you got to move it 2 spots. So 0.03 of what number? So you really have that. So then 12 divided by 0.03 is 400. All right. Lastly, almost done, folks. You're doing good. All right. What is 300% of 12? What is 300% is 3 of 12. Well, that's just a multiplication problem, isn't it? Answer is 36. Good. Commissions. We talked about commissions. Telemarketer earns 2% commission on each sale. Find the commission earned on the sales of 1,400. Okay, so they don't tell you how much he actually gets for a salary. They're just telling you how much more he'll get for commission. So he's going to get 2% of the 1,400. 2% of the $1,400. So you got to change this to a decimal, multiply it by 1,400. So 1,400 times 0.02. Now when you get to this one, notice it does say estimate, and I do want you to estimate. So 20% on a check. Remember, we can round this. So if we see 34.30, we can think $35. Because then you can easily get 10% by shifting the decimal 1 spot in your head. So if you shift it 1 spot in your head, you see 350. Double that. 7. Now if you're a big tipper, heck, you could say I'm going to round that up to 40 because she was just awesome, or he, and I'm going to get $40, double it, that's $4, double it, 8. Okay? So you got to kind of do that in your head. It's the one I won't require work on, you guys. Now, find the percent change. Whenever you do that, remember you're finding the difference on the top and the original on the bottom. So 72 to 18, so you're going to subtract those on the top over the original. So if they don't tell you the original, it's always that first one they started with, 72. So we're going to grab our little calculators here. 72 minus 18, I get 54 over 72, which is 0.75. Find the percent change, so that's 75%. And you have to tell whether it's increase or decrease. So you had to find and tell. There were 2 verbs. And since it went from 72 to 18, it went down, so it was a decrease. Don't miss those little things. Circle the verbs. Find the result when 80 is decreased by 95%. Okay, so it's decreased, so it's going to go down. And we got to find out how much it's going to go down. Well, it's going to go down 95%. Well, what is that? Because I'm going to have 80 minus something to get my answer. What's the something? Well, I got to multiply. So 80 times 0.95 is 76. That is what I'm subtracting. If I had said increased here, that would have been plus, and then that would have been plus. Okay, and it would have been 156. Big difference. All right. Antonio brought bought a hat at the wholesale cost of $7. He marked it up 100%. That means he made everything he paid for it and sold it. So if he bought it for $7, that means he sold it for twice that amount, $14. Okay. Now I want to give you a different one. Let's say you bought a car for $10,000 and you sold it. No. Let's do, you sold it for $10,000. You purchased it for $7,500. So you purchased it for $7,500. You sold it for $10,000. What is the percent markup? Go ahead and pause the video and try it. Okay, so we can do the same thing where you're doing that fraction. 75, subtract these two over the original. So what did they first start with? That. All right, let's see what it is. So 10,000 minus 7,500 equals 2,500, of course, divided by 7,500, which we could have done in our head. It's 1/3, which is 33%. He marked up that car 33%. Oh, we made it to the last one, everyone. Alicia bought a prom dress for $120. She had a coupon for 25% off of her purchase. What was the final price? Okay, well, first you have to find out how much she got off, because we're going to have, again, the same deal where it's, you're going to subtract something, but what? Okay, so you got to figure out what is 25% of 120. So 0.25 times 120 is what? So that's about 1/4 of 120, which is what? So that's what we're going to subtract, and we're going to get 90. I have one more for you before I let you go. Okay, let's say you purchased another, just like this one. You purchased a prom dress for, well, the original price was $100, or a suit, but you paid $83. What was the discount you got? What percent discount did you get? Pause the video, try it. Okay, so it's the same thing again. Original minus what you paid over the original. So let's do that. 100 minus 83, which of course is 17, divided by 100. Oh God, we don't even need a calculator for these, you guys. 17 over 100 is 0.17, which is 17% discount. All right, I think that's it. So good luck, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.